Hello and welcome to this month's interview with our featured expert, Natalie. Natalie is a business coach. So after growing her own profitable business and experiencing failed businesses along the way, Natalie knows that success is all about mindset, imperfect action, and consistency. For the last decade, Natalie has been a mindset motivator, butt-kick facilitator, and a badass cheerleader for high-achieving women in business, teaching them how to drop the self-sabotage and take consistent and perfect action to grow their biz and their revenue with confidence. Welcome, Natalie.
Thank you, Tony. I think everyone should get their introduction written, because you and I were giggling about when someone else writes about you, you're like, who the hell's that? And you're like, oh, that's me.
It's so good. I'm so excited to have you here talking with the wider Successful Salons community. And now Natalie is our featured expert inside Successful Salons Club this month. And although she's not going to divulge everything that she's put into the training for our members, we are going to talk about overcoming perfectionism. See, I wasn't even perfect. And achieving exceptional results. So let's dive in, Natalie, and tell us about how you got to be where you are today and doing this amazing work.
A good question, Tony. I hopefully won't take too long to answer it, but there's a picture behind me here that's imperfect, and I actually painted that picture. It's actually massive. Like it's not as tall as me, but it's a huge piece of work, and it's got 25 layers in there. And I did it with a life coach, and you learn to let things go. So there's literal tears in there because I've never been this imperfect and roll with the punches. But it actually just means I 100% back myself. And I never used to be like that. I would judge and compare myself to other people until I realized one day I went to this incredible workshop. The speaker was amazing, but I was like, holy hell. The difference between me and her right now is she's on the stage and I'm not. It's the belief in herself. And from that day, I was like, you know what? I'm going to give this stuff a go, because she's, we're the same type of people. What makes it, why is she more special? She's not. That's my story. And so, for me, I just started to give things a go. It was a pivotal moment in my life when, I celebrate that I've had 2 failed businesses. One of those businesses was with a business partner, and we failed spectacularly. I was a chef by trade, and we had a restaurant, and it died a great death. But I got my MBA through how to not run, how to run your business into a ground, how to not pay GST but buy fancy furniture instead. So I've got some engine room knowledge. And then when I came out into my own business, my first online business failed really, really well again. And I've got a lot of masculine energy, which means I've got a lot of action. The downside to masculine energy is we don't know when we've taken on too much stress. So you're chronically stressed. I didn't know that at the time because I was beating myself up because my 3rd business wasn't working. It's now incredibly profitable, by the way. But the lesson is that I got sick and I got Bell's palsy and my face paralyzed. This part of my face literally collapsed. And when you're the face of your business, riding this incredible trajectory of success, how do you show up? How do you face your audience when you're the face of your business? You either just opt out or you go all in. And so I went all in, and I was like, this is actually who I am. Let's just face it and go on and get in there. Hence the imperfect action, because I'm all about, I tried perfect, it doesn't work. Let's just cut the crap.
Fantastic. And so now you help other business owners or high-achieving women out there do the same.
100%, because it's okay to want perfect, for it to be perfect, because that's what makes us great. Like you, Tony, I actually just want to give you a shout out, because I think you're an incredible businesswoman, and that's why I feel honored to be part of what you do, because I can tell you're incredibly humble, but actually you're perfectionist. I salute her. We want to celebrate her, because she is what keeps you great and what keeps you actually really good. And so it's that dichotomy of the dance of you can't let her drive it all the time. You've got to see when she's actually going to trip you up with sabotage and doubt. So it's helping women understand that don't change who you are, just be aware of who you are, all of you, the goods and the bads.
And that brings me to a really, really good point. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
When we are in business, and I've done it, and I don't do it now, but what we do, we can compare ourselves to other salons, we can compare ourselves to other business owners, and we just think we're looking at people not thinking we're good enough. And it's how do you overcome that?
Yeah, so it's the first thing is quite simple. Is actually you stop making it about you. What can happen is we can become centric to ourselves. And I always say to my clients, we've got to go customer centric. I don't care that someone's doing that and you're not. When was the last time you thought about your ideal client? What does she need right now? Have you thought about that? What are you doing about that? Just not make it about you. What do they need? And it gets the perfectionists to focus on being great and chiseling that saw and being really good at that instead of the shoulds and the gotters, because they just create overwhelm.
And your business is your business for a reason. So you get to create it how you want to. Doesn't necessarily mean how every other salon is doing it or what they're doing is going to work for you. It's not, because it's you.
Exactly. And I chose my hairdresser because of her personality and with her brand. So if she didn't put her in it, then I wouldn't be, hanging out so long hours with her, bleaching my hair.
And I just want to say on that note, before we move on, you are your superpower.
100%. You are your unique selling point. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm in a saturated market as well with business coaching. What makes me different is I might teach the same thing as someone else, but it's my intonation, it's my delivery, it's my interpretation. And what's important in your marketing or in who you are is repel the people who don't get your vibe and your brand, which will strongly attract the right people. And you'll spend less time having to worry about it.
Oh, amen to that, I tell you.
We could talk for hours, Tonya and I.
I know. What is the number one thing that you see as the biggest challenge for business owners right now?
We can fall into hearing backtrack now. See, imperfect action, blah, blah. The old me would be disgusted that I just tripped over now because my mind's got so many things I want to say. You've got to back yourself, because at the moment you can scroll on social media and take on other people's opinions, and their opinions can come from lack from themselves, or if they've got limiting beliefs, they can be putting out things that aren't necessarily true. So you've got to make your own decisions. And I think right now the biggest problem is people are still not backing themselves and their intuition and their beliefs. So that's what I'm thinking right now, because you can decide whether you're going to grow or you're going to sink. And as annoying as that word pivot is, you've got to start looking outside the box or just choosing to move forward.
Definitely. So for a salon owner who is happy to see the back of 2020 and wants to achieve some really exceptional goals and, just really go for it in 2021, what is your number one tip for them?
Time. So what that means is the plan you create needs to be simple, but the strategies that will make the plan happen need time. Now, high achieving women will see another thing on social media and go, oh, I need to do that too. And all of a sudden they have a lot of unfinished strategies. It's strategies, and growth actually needs longer than you think. So I'd love for you for 2021 to choose a plan, have some flexibility, but stop chopping and changing. Decide what you're going to do. Even if you have to do it 20 times differently to get the end results, you've got to commit.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's probably one of the biggest lessons that I learned when I had my salon and took it from failing to six figures, is not being distracted by anything else and focused on what my one goal was for that 6 months was to attract new clients. So I totally, but it's easy to get distracted, but you just got to learn to pull yourself back. It's being disciplined.
100% discipline. And you know, a good analogy all the time for that is, you know, with getting fit, you can't just do it for a week and go, it's not working. You've got to be consistent. I mean, that's annoying, isn't it? You've got to be consistent. You've got to consistently eat well, move, and do the things. So it's the same for business. It's the easiest analogy to give you to remind you that it's what are you doing 80% of the time?
Mm. And I know that a lot of people like to have the busy factor, but they're not actually being productive. So like Nat said, if you've got a plan and you're sticking to that plan, you're going to find that you're being more productive rather than being busy, because busy doesn't really achieve a lot in the long run. You want to be productive.
I think, you know, there's a good point there, whereas men can teach us a lot in business, because men don't tend to get distracted with busy, because for them it's they don't make things about themselves, first of all, which is really good. But they'll check a metric, like if you spent a month focusing on getting new clients and at the end of the month you realize that you've got no clients, then of course you need to change what you're doing. But it's really good to check in all the time on those metrics, which men are really good at going, I'm going to stop doing that busyness if it's not getting me the result. So I think there's a lot to learn in those areas as well.
Oh, I love that you said that, because I'm a big one for measure.
Yeah. Otherwise, how do you know?
Yeah, definitely. I agree. So one of the biggest complaints that I hear is that I don't have enough time to do all this, Tony. What would you say, Nat?
I wonder what everyone guess I was going to say. Well, then you'll have to you're actually wasting more time not measuring, not being intentional, because what can happen is if you don't have time, is that as we're going to teach you in the collection coming up, is that it's just a story, because it means that you don't want to face your results. And that's where you actually need to just slow down, as opposed to speeding up. It's a counterintuitive. Don't get busier. You need to slow right down and have a look where you need to go to. And time, the thing is, you've got time for something. So the something is feeding negative stories. The time you have at the moment is letting yourself feed into the sabotage and feeding into the fact that you're not making the time for the things you want. So I know you know that it's a BS excuse, because you're making time for something. What are you making it for? Are you happy with the something? If not, you then can choose.
I always say to you know, people that tell me that they've got enough time, I'm like, how much did you spend on social media today? How much time did you spend? Like, if you can spend time on social media, you've got time to work on yourself.
100%.
What was your story?
I've got this pop-up on my website that it'll say, hey, caught you scrolling. And then we can have a laugh about it, because scrolling, as we know, as comfort eating as well, is a form of numbing of what you don't want to go and face. And that's the work in the collection. It's like, no, go face it, because it's actually not as bad as you think. Go face that feeling and let's go take some action.
Perfect. Now, you talked about self-sabotage. So for all our at the wider community, so the people that don't have access to the collection right now, because we're closed. But anyway, how do they recognize self-sabotage?
Yeah, self-sabotage is a sneaky little one. It's very sneaky. You know, like you'll be like, everything is going really well, and something will happen because you've ever thought like, it can't be this good, it can't be this easy, and so we literally manifest the sabotage in the wheel. Or it could look like maybe you've been invited to guest speak or lead a training, or you have to talk to someone who you put up on a pedestal. You wake up the next day with a cold and you have to cancel. It's a sabotage way out. And so sabotage shows up if you're about to have your best month ever, and your brain goes, oh, you can't do it again next month. How do you even do this? I can't believe you did it. And you hoard the money because you're like, I don't know how this happened. I'm not good enough. They're all sabotage clues that if you just know what they are, you go, oh, okay, and you carry on.
And that's some of the work that you do with members in Successful Salons Club, as you take them through that and how to identify the self-sabotage and the limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so you and I both know that positive mindset is a big key to having a successful business.
Huge.
So do you have any tips or tricks for anyone listening today that probably finds it a little bit hard sometimes? If they're really positive, then all of a sudden they go, something happens and they get into that icky, like in between area, to get them back really quickly into that positive mindset.
Yeah, I think what a cool thing is, it's a very literal one, is when you have, because it's okay to have a bad day, it's okay to have a bad thought, because you're actually human, it's part of who you are. But what we can't do is go and, I call it like watching a Netflix series. Like when you're having a bad moment, don't stay in the series. Like don't stay there playing it all out, looking for the evidence, reminding yourself back when your mum told you you didn't know what you're doing when you're like, don't freaking keep playing the same movie, man. Like push stop. So if you're having a bad time and you're being positive and it's just not working, go and actually push stop on those feelings. Physically move yourself, go and do something different. Often helping someone else will be really good. Like go leave a review if you had a really good experience the day before. Go and bake something to take to your neighbor. Often helping someone will actually bring gratitude and show you that actually everything's pretty freaking awesome. It's just the higher achiever in you's been a bit of a drama queen and she needs to just calm down.
And that's super important, especially if you're a salon owner that's leading a team.
Yes.
Super important. Yeah, super important, because you don't want to bring your team down to that mindset. So leaving and going and doing something else that's going to create a better vibe for you. So for like, and it's just can be little things. For like, one of the things that I love, warm weather. I love the sun. I'm not into overcast. Like if it's overcast and rainy, I feel like my mood changes.
Yes.
So I light lots of candles and have candles going and beautiful smells and things like that. And that tends to change my vibe, because I just don't like it. Just clouds. Yeah. So it's just finding little things that can change that helps change your vibe. And it might be going for a 5-minute walk, or, just doing those things. Because I think it's super important as a leader that you are always, you can have a bad day like Nat said, but you want to be having a team that is high vibe.
I think it's a really good point, is often women won't allow themselves to have those moments because we feel guilty. Oh, what would my team think? Or what would people think if I'm like, hey, I'm just going to go catch 5? They'll be like, why are you not like a robot who can just take everything all the time? It's like, actually, no, don't feel guilty about that. People need to see that you're human. You know how to move out of your own way.
Definitely.
Totally.
Definitely. Okay. So you talk about imperfect action. What is imperfect action?
Imperfect action is just taking the action without overthinking. So without all that, what I call the overwhelm family, which is, fear, doubt, worry, sabotage. Just go do it, because you know enough now. You're good enough now. It doesn't matter. Even when you think you're taking perfect action, it never will be for you, because in your head you're never enough. So it's like, what do you want to choose? Just forever berating yourself, or just actually going out of your own way, being available to the people who you can help right now? Because imperfect action is about showing up for the people who you can help, not the people who don't need you, who would never come to you because they're their own expert. So show up for the other people.
I love that. And especially when we're in a world that's full of social media and people are afraid to get on and do a story, or, just put themselves out there like that because they're worried about what other people think. What do you say to that?
Here's the thing, is they're going to meet you in person one day. And if you are not flawless, like the filter you just put on, I'm going to be like, what the hell? Like, you don't look anything like that in person. You want it to be that when, like, the first thing I said to Tony was like, I feel like we already know each other, because we're not coming onto social media and bringing a little bit of BS. Yes, we're bringing the better versions of ourselves and a little bit more polished, and we got dressed up for you guys today. But we're actually, who we are is who we are. So at the end of the day, we've had 2 million years for humans to grow their bullshit alarm. And people can smell it a mile off, and they don't want it. If anything that 2020's brought us is the need for you to be real for us. Because people who, like if I said to you, and this is no detriment to people who do this, if this is your natural person, if I said to you, you've got to get up every day at 5 o'clock, meditate, do yoga and have a green smoothie, I could then be completely unrelatable for you if I then didn't do it myself. You've got to walk your talk. People will smell it a mile off, and people are just over the whole BS perfection.
Definitely.
I got a bit ranty then, didn't I?
No, I think also from that, you have to, you not have to, I don't like to say that, but you're showing up for yourself. If you're going out there and putting yourself up on a story and talking about your business or showing your business off, people want to see that. People want to see who you are, and people love to know who the business owner is.
100%. And it's not about going and sharing your dirty laundry. No one wants to see that either.
No, at the end of the day, and I think at the end of the day, what somebody else thinks of us is none of our business.
100%. And they're not your person. So go and deliberately repel them. That's why I'm like, show up as you, all of you. Repel the people you have to impress, because bugger that.
Yeah. And your vibe attracts your tribe at the end of the day. So, and talking about imperfect action, Natalie has written a book called Allergic to Perfect.
Is it this one, Tony?
That's the one. Fancy having it there. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your book, Nat?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. The interesting thing is, I'm obviously an extrovert, and one of the biggest things which means people think that I'm confident, but it's not. It's just that I do it anyway. My biggest vulnerability piece was not just writing this, but actually putting it out to other people and then reading it. And I'm like, I could feel my perfectionist coming up and saying, what if it's not enough? Because you can't get rid of that stuff. So this book's been huge, because for me, I'm like, doesn't everyone write a book? And everyone's like, no, don't just everyone write a book. So in here, I really care that people hear the real highlight reels of business. So in here is all about my failed businesses, all about, I've had trademark infringes. You name it, I've had it. And it's in this book to say, hey, what you're experiencing is actually normal. There's nothing wrong with you. You're amazing as you are, but here's what you need to know. And it's those mindset pieces. And then my roadmap that took me from $3,000 to 6 figures. Because, for being humble Kiwi woman, for we've got big, tall poppy in our country. And I'm just like, actually, you know what? If I can, because I'm no one special, and I'm not berating myself. I'm just like, you can do it too. And that's what you and I love about, we agree on that, right? It's, if we can, you can. Just go do it.
Definitely. And now, if I can, my memory serves me right, your book release was in lockdown, was planned for lockdown, wasn't it? So this is real. How did you overcome that? Because obviously it was all planned out, and then New Zealand went into lockdown for 4 weeks.
Well, the great thing is, how perfect was an imperfect book launch around being perfect? I was like, oh my gosh. So I pre-launched the book. So, and then in the pre-launch, I'd sold a lot of books. And so people in the end had to wait 5 months before I could get the book to them, because we couldn't get the book printed because I couldn't get to the printer. And so what I did so I couldn't have my book party. So we did a book party online. I audio recorded a chapter every night in my closet during lockdown and released it to all the pre-sales. So while they couldn't have the book in hand, I could read to them, which gave me bigger connection with people. And then when we went out of lockdown, I was able to get the books. But then, of course, Auckland, where I live, the couriers they couldn't keep up with all the packages. So me, my husband and my girls and my mum and dad, we drove Auckland and hand delivered books.
Amazing. So something that was all planned out,
Yeah.
got turned upside down from you had no control over whatsoever.
Yeah.
But in turn, it worked out the best how it was.
Exactly. It was perfect.
Yeah.
Ironically perfect.
Yeah. So on that note, I'm going to leave it there, Nat, but I just want to let everyone know that down below we will have the link to Nat's book if you want to buy it. We'll also have her Instagram and her website and her Facebook. And is there any other way that people can get in contact with you?
No, that's it. Because that's it. You'll come to those spaces and we'll connect, and yeah, you can get some butt kicks from me in my group as well. But yeah, it's been so cool to be part of this. I so appreciate it.
It's awesome. And thank you again for being a featured expert and sharing your wisdom and knowledge with our wider community.
Yay. Thank you.
Thank you.